If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My friends, life is all about what you do, not what you think about, but what you actually do. Of course, you have to think about stuff many times before you do it. But for the thinkers that don't act, you're losers. You're just losing slowly. So again, stick with this. Do it every day. 10 to 15 minutes, that's all we ask. If you want to master the markets, that's what you've got to do. We see the week starting off slowly. The S&P 500 up 0.35%. And again, if we redraw our trend line with the latest, and we do it, of course, only on the weekly. If we redraw our trend line where we are on this latest candle, you can see just how flat things are getting. Does that help us much? No, it doesn't. Now we see, again, where the volume is starting. We've got 5 days to build on that, but the volume is starting off and not, why can't I get that to go away? I want to see the bottom here. Why is it? It's not letting me do it. It just won't. I don't know why it won't go away on the bottom. Maybe now? Yes, now. Okay. I had something highlighted. I shouldn't. So you can see where the volume is starting. You can see that we just have dojis spinning tops. So again, looks like market movement is slowing. If we look in the past at what the market's done, we can see that when it starts to top out like this, it typically, it might bang up one time and then go down. But again, looks like the market is coming to an end as we look back over time at what we've seen on the weekly chart. Hasn't happened yet. May happen this week. We will pay close attention and just see where things go. We look at where things are on, and again, this is a pretty flat line. It doesn't do that much for us. But what do we see? We can see things on that 2-day chart sitting right on it. Same with the half day. So we'll pay close attention to see how the candle keeps drawing over the course of this week, particularly on that weekly chart. And in relation to the weekly trend line, what happens with the 2-day and the half day to give us some idea as to how strong a down or up move is, or how weak the market is just sliding along. Now the S&P, we go from the S&P 500 to the NASDAQ 100, QQQ, the tech stocks, and again up 0.54%. Not as indecisive as we saw in the S&P, continuing to move up a little bit. I mean, you can see here on the price movement as it's continuing to move a little bit higher, or at least as high as it was previously. And again, as we watch, we can see there's more carrying the NASDAQ 100 forward. So we'll continue to track it. Again, like we said, on the 2-day and the half day in relation to this weekly trend line, and then on the weekly for the move. And again, you can see how reliable these candlesticks have been. We have an outlier occasionally, like we saw back last May, at the end of May. But other than that, candles have been pretty good to us. That's what we love about Heiken Ashi candlesticks in charts that you can actually track. In stocks and ETFs, you can actually chart. Now, what do we see? Well, 20-year bonds going in the right direction. That is down. Why do we say right direction? Because we bounced off the ceiling that's been there several times and took it a little while, but started moving down back on the week of the 17th of April, then weakened that following week beginning the 24th of April, but then continued the move and started moving down, and again moving down nicely for the day, 1.03%. We look at where things are on the 2-day and the half day, and we can again see things below what we might do as this week starts. Let's redraw that trend line and update it. There we go. That's pretty good. Connecting 3 candles gives us a decent trend line for which to compare movement on our smaller charts. You understand how we're doing that, why we do that? It makes sense. Everything being equal, stocks tend to move in the direction of the largest chart. We want to see how these smaller time frames are moving in relation to the weekly, which is the largest chart we track. Let's move from bonds to gold. Gold up a little bit, 0.21%. Does look like gold again. We saw it slowing for 2 weeks and then it popped up. This week starting off a little bit up. We can see when we compare, and again, we can update this chart too. Let's do that on our trend line. How can we connect? Looks like we can do okay here with these. And as we redraw that trend line, we can compare where the 2-day is and where the half-day is, sort of bouncing off that trend line. So we will keep an eye on things and see how they continue to lead us. So that's where we are on gold, starting the week off up a little bit. Lastly, we go to Bitcoin, swinging up some for the day, 3.79% a ways to go. We can see again a fairly flat trend line, nothing to get excited about. We saw where Bitcoin slid sideways 3 weeks, last week a down week, this week starting off a little up, but nonetheless a red down candle forming. If you are not, sorry folks, I'm moving a cough drop around my mouth, and I apologize if I sound like I have something in my mouth. I do. I'm balancing that off against me coughing during the entire broadcast, so please forgive my cough drop. But when we look at where things are on the chart, we can see that there still is a push down on Bitcoin. What we're hoping for is that Bitcoin will continue down. We want to see these charts reset and start moving in discernible patterns that we can track. I don't know if I said stock, I meant ETF, because we're referring to the ETF that tracks Bitcoin. So again, we want the pattern to start up, like we see with something like the S&P 500. Green followed by red, followed by green. We don't want to see a sloppy chart with green and then short reds, greens thrown in. We want nice, clean movement. We did have Bitcoin doing that for a while. Then, of course, hit its high, bounced off, and, sort of got crushed there for many months. So we want Bitcoin to start moving in discernible patterns. And when it does, we'll feel much more confident about our practice trades when it's not just throwing a dart at a moving target. That's where we are, folks, as we end the day on Monday. So appreciate you being with us. We always love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, cw@chartingwealth.com. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.